Okay. Hello, everyone. Okay, we're 17. Maybe wait.
Hello.
Hello. Wait one.
How are you doing today?
Hi, Lina. Good. And you?
Hello. How are you?
Fine, thank
Hello.
you.
Fine,
Fine.
thank you.
Good. Almost the weekend, right?
Yes, sure.
Okay, perhaps I don't want to make you wait too long, especially because you were here on time. So we can start, and then more participants will join as always. So welcome to this second webinar of Module 1. 2 days ago, we had a very interesting conversation together also with Stefano on the digitalization of TVET and skills development from, let's say, a general and a systemic point of view. You have shared some of your thoughts on how you felt about the digitalization following especially the COVID outbreak. We discussed if you would go back to normal or if you would leverage from the opportunities. And then we also discussed what does it mean leveraging on these opportunities in practice? So what is the mindset that is needed? And also what are the different elements that are needed for this digital transition? Today, we would like to talk more or less about the same, let's say, topic, but from another perspective. So from a pedagogical and methodological perspective. So what does it mean, digital transition for your curriculum and in your in learning more generally? We have with us Alessia Messuti. So she works here at the ITCI Law. So she sits in Turin. She's our e-learning specialist here at the training center, and she will be giving us a presentation on this topic. As always, we have some interactive moments in between so that we can exchange a bit ideas and share also our knowledge. So Alessia, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Manuela, and welcome everyone. And nice to see you. I'm glad to participate to this second inaugural session of this course. And as Manuela said, I'll try to share my experience with regard the transformation of curriculum, of traditional face-to-face curriculum into online. And I would like to reflect with you on what are the challenges, but also the opportunities that are out there, and how can we rethink how can we rethink the curriculum and delivery of training for a new normal or a better normal. And please feel free to use the chat throughout the presentation, throughout the session, if there is something that is unclear, or if you would like to ask further questions. And as Manuela said, there are also moments in which I would like also you to share your experience throughout the session, because we are here to discuss and reflect together, of course. There is no golden rule, and everything can be further adapted and further contextualized. So maybe the first slide that I wanted to share with you is, let me just check. Okay, it goes. So the first slide starts with a sort of provocative sentence, a sentence that says many times we discuss also with colleagues here at the training center, here on campus in Italy. We also had last year to convert all the training portfolio into a digital portfolio. And of course, this entailed a great effort in rethinking and retransforming and converting all the materials. And many times we end up discussing among ourselves, when everything was face-to-face, such a good times. It was a very, this is something that we really miss. So this is something that usually we discuss, but also we tend to then question the meaning of the sentence by asking ourselves if this is the right assumption. Sometimes we have the assumption that everything that was happening in the past and everything that we were used to carry out in a modality Therefore, the face-to-face modality, which was the modality we were mostly used to and familiar to, was the perfect one. So I guess, do you empathize with this sentence? Are you also feeling the same, like face-to-face, such a good times when everything was possible in those settings? What do you think? Can you give me a sign in the chat? Do you agree with that? Do you agree with this statement? I see Lina. So Lina, you are melancholic about the face-to-face setting, and also other ones, Rabin. So yes, I guess it's normal. I guess it's normal that this is something that probably it's a common and shared feeling. The other thing is that I'll try to sometimes question this assumption, this statement, saying that of course the face-to-face modality is a good modality to deliver training. Of course, we can ensure a better human touch and better personal interaction. It is for sure a modality that is very much suited for certain, let's say, pedagogical purposes and learning objectives. At the same time, let us also remember that, as someone is also saying in the chat, Lina, it is good, but not the only one, or it is good, but let us remember that there were challenges also when we were carrying out training in face-to-face modalities. Sometimes it was about the fact that the teachers' skills needed to be continuously updated. So sometimes we were complaining about this. We were complaining about working conditions. We were complaining about the fact that the curriculum design we were dealing with was not up to date. Sometimes the culture and the systems we work within inhibit innovation. So there were challenges also in those times and in that typical scenario. And yeah, I agree with you, Rania, saying that the challenges, of course, were there, are common, but now you're also facing probably new challenges because, of course, we are facing a new reality and we have to see what work better and what work best. Let's go to the second slide. The second slide says that another provocative statement. This is something that also sometimes we hear also our training center. We are facing these conditions. Everything needs to go digital. Everything needs to be digital. We don't need anymore a training center. We don't need anymore a training campus. We have managed to carry out everything online. Therefore, online is our present and online is our future. So this is a completely opposite statement. It's the statement coming from those that are enthusiastic about technology, that they can see that technology can solve every problem because it's accessible. Technology is evolving at a fast pace. There are, let's say, every day and every week, we can maybe get exposed to new tools and new applications. So it's becoming more accessible and more easy to use, but there are some limitations as well. So when my consideration, yeah, I also read a comment by Ziad in the chat that we need more time to be more familiar with the new era of education and working condition. For sure, I think it's really about changing the mindset that when we think about online learning, when we think about digital education, we tend to imagine that this could replicate what was happening in the past. So with the new tools, we could replicate what was happening in face-to-face settings. Although I want to stress today throughout this session and reflecting with you that we need to remember that online modalities and face-to-face modalities are two different modalities. Therefore, they can cater different needs, they can be supported by different tools, and they can lead to different outcomes. So let us try to think about digital learning as an opportunity, not something that will allow us to completely substitute the face-to-face curriculum or the face-to-face learning activities, but something that could enrich, that could potentially complement, or that could maximize and augment what was happening before. Therefore, we have to think more about modalities that could be integrated rather than substituting themselves. So my question for you, or my initial discussion, thank you for the comment, Rania. So we are actually doing this, looking forward to see how and which modalities. Okay, so let's maybe dig deeper into the conversation. Let's dig deeper into also what you are currently doing, what you're currently experiencing, or you are currently thinking of doing. So let's try to look towards a better normal, something that a scenario in which the virtual alternatives, the virtual, let's say, opportunities that are brought up by the pandemic do not only correspond to a challenge, but they may become an opportunity for us to learn and to improve, but also to improve the curriculum delivery for the final stakeholders. So let's see how can these two alternative modalities can complement each other. And I would like to ask you a question about it. So I will stop talking right now, and I would like to let you imagine, as you are currently already doing, but let's use also this webinar today to think about it together. Imagine a world in which learning, therefore learning and training, is seamless. So it is an experience that does not happen only in one place or in another, but learning is an experience that can happen, that can take place in different environments. It could be virtual and it could face-to-face. So maybe think about a concrete example, a concrete training curriculum you are in charge of, that you know very well. You know the challenges, but you know also the opportunities. And the question for you are, what would ideally take place online? What would ideally take place online in that particular curriculum? What would ideally take place in face-to-face settings if you had to construct that curriculum in both modalities? This is a question, practical question for you. Before answering, I'll ask you to reflect a minute on this question. So think about a concrete example, about a training. Think about this training. Think about what would happen online and what would happen in face-to-face. And hold on for a moment, because Manuela will share with you a link and also share a screen where you can insert your answer. So maybe, Manuela, I will stop sharing my screen.
Okay, as Alessia said, we will do this exercise in a collaborative board for which I sent the link in the chat box. I invite you to open it with Google Chrome because it works better. And I'm also going to share my screen so that you see what is happening. So I think you know this tool already from the icebreaker. It's called Padlet. So Rania, the questions are written in the Padlet itself. So they're there. If you open it either in your browser or if you look at the shared screen. So what would ideally take place online in a virtual setting? So which are the activities that would take place for you online in the framework of your occupation, of your sector? And what would ideally take place in face-to-face settings? I see that there is already a post. So as you see, it's quite straightforward. You click the plus and you can post it. So maybe perhaps we give you 5 minutes to write down, and then we can have a little discussion before continuing the presentation.
Yeah, thank you, Manuela, for the clarification. And again, think about a concrete example you are in charge of, that you are delivering, or maybe you need to deliver in the future. So if it's not something that already exists, also something that will exist in this imaginary world.
Okay, we have a mix of tools that you're telling us, and then of really learning activities, learning moments. I mean, both are fine. Also, maybe because you will complement later, explaining a bit.
Okay, so maybe we still wait a couple of minutes to see. I see that the list of the online is also quite, I was not expecting to have many, but then I see that online and face-to-face are equally populated. Okay, so Manuela, what do you think?
So first thing, I see a dichotomy between the practical activities and the theoretical ones. So clearly the practical seems like has to be in a face-to-face setting, and the theoretical can be brought into online.
Okay.
But perhaps this is, I mean, let's reflect about it, because do we really want to divide practical and theoretical? And why not leveraging the blended learning to create a new modality where we don't have this division, but we can leverage from the technologies that we have to merge those two and have also some practical activities in online setting and vice versa. So that's just a thought, but Alessia, I'll let you continue.
Thank you, Manuela. This is a good reflection, and indeed I see that there is this dichotomy that in the online settings we have, for example, okay, there is one comment about delivering content, therefore delivering content through virtual session, through, for example, PowerPoint presentation, animated explanation, video. Another one, there are digital courses, okay, videos, okay, or interactive assignment as well as working groups. So you see that in online settings, you could create opportunities for learners to acquire new knowledge, for activating prior knowledge, for example, through some digital content. But also, I like also the fact that there was an effort to include also interactive assignment. So this means that the practicality can also be activated in digital settings. I see there was also an interesting contribution with a YouTube video. I saw there was someone mentioning a YouTube video. So YouTube video are accessible and are quite popular, and they are not only in this world we can always use a YouTube video also, for example, to access video tutorials. Video tutorials nowadays are also very important to activate let's say
ما كتبوا لنا السؤال هنا عم بقول لك انا قلت لك يا السؤال عندك انا.
Okay. There was also a comment in Arabic, which I'm not able to read. Maybe I'll ask.
So provide lessons that could be used depending on the learner's time.
Okay, thank you. This is also a very good input. So providing an input, a theoretical input or a practical input or an on-the-job input, which is accessible for the learners at their own time, at their own pace. So this is something that we are not forcing everyone to be available for a classroom at the same time, but we're also trying to personalize or to adapt a little bit the curriculum towards the needs of the participants and of the learners. On the other side, I see that as Manuela was highlighting, we have a lot of more the practical dimension. So live demonstration, be more in contact with students, and they will be more comfortable when they will ask questions. So I guess here you are stressing the human dimension of the training, the fact that probably some participants will feel more comfortable in the face-to-face settings. There I see practical training again, practical work, which need manual skills from students or trainees. someone is more skeptical and saying basically everything. So I see that in the group we have some of you that is completely skeptical about running online activities and online content, applied work as well. Anything else, Manuela, that you would like to emphasize from this?
No, I think we went through the main concepts. I see just a comment in the chat of someone that could not add the post, saying that 70% of practical lesson can be supported online, especially in computer, etc. So it seems like it's a bit contradicting, let's say, this list that is clearly dividing the practicality and the theoretical. I don't know if Marwan, you would like to complement by voice, if you can also unmute your microphone.
Sure.
Yes, I could hear you.
تحياتي لكم جميعا. نعم بالحقيقة أنا
Good afternoon. Yes, with respect to theoretical lessons, in my opinion, they can be supported and they can be conducted virtually. But with respect to applied works or lessons, I believe that some of these lessons need face-to-face interaction, mainly interaction with the equipment and the machinery. So in this case, we need a human dimension if we're talking about nurses or labs. In this case, we need to find alternatives to traditional teaching methods. But with respect to other professions, like computer, accounting, electronics, management, in my personal opinion, all of these can be conducted virtually, and the whole curricula can be conducted virtually and online. Thank you.
Thanks a lot, Marwa, for your inputs. I've stopped sharing because I think we reviewed most of the comments. I don't know if Alessia, you want to give a final comment or continue on the presentation. There's other comments in the chat box from Lina. Okay, due to the crisis and the weak network connections and electricity problems, this is of course a huge barrier that you're facing for this new modality.
Sure. Yeah, exactly. So complementing also the intervention made by Marwan, also what says Lina, for example, that it's not possible, of course, to do everything online. No, we also have to consider certain challenges that are not only, let's say, defined or established by the fact that the modality is a different modality, or therefore something cannot be achieved in that modality, but also given by the current infrastructure, therefore thinking about what is actually possible. So try to be realistic, try to be feasible, and think about also the learning possibilities and the learners' infrastructure. And also there is another comment saying, like the barber, we can do everything with virtual. For example, this specific curriculum on the shop. So I see that there are different opinions. So there are some ideas about having some components online, and you think that this could work. There are some ideas also, of course, about the fact that we can complement the theory and the practice, so we can leverage on the online settings to better prepare for practical sessions. There are also some concerns or some problems that you are highlighting. Therefore, let me now reshare my screen, and then let me just let's share the screen again with the presentation. Sorry. Okay. Okay, so this was the question we were asking you, and thank you. I would say that, of course, there is no I started on purpose the presentation with some provocative statements, no? The provocative statement saying that everything should go face-to-face, everything should go digital. The aim of this presentation is to share also a little bit the experience that we are also living here at the training center, for example, where we were missing all the good times where everything was face-to-face. Now we are suffering a little bit the fact that when in digital settings, we cannot really achieve the same, but we are also exposed to new opportunities. Therefore, the kind of conclusion that we are trying to convey is that the future is neither face-to-face 100%, neither digital 100%, but should be blended. And by blended, we should think about what is the correct definition of blended learning. What is the correct definition, not only by default, by theory, but also the correct definition according to you, according to your context, according to the infrastructure that you are leveraging, according to the needs of the learners, according to the curriculum that you are carrying out. On the screen, you see two definitions that have been taken. So these are like theoretical definitions about blended learning. The first one is that blended learning combine face-to-face instruction with computer-mediated instruction. Therefore, it's a pure technocentric definition in which we are just saying that the face-to-face is enriched or supported sometimes by technological devices, and without really defining when and in which moments or which tools are most important. The second definition is more focusing on an integration of face-to-face learning experiences with online learning experiences. So you see that the difference between the first definition and the second definition is that we focus on creation of experiences. So we have a new term here, experiences, and not only instruction and instruction as two separated moments. So we like here the second definition better. And we think that, as Manuela was saying at the when she was picking up the first comment into the Padlet, let's try not to fall into the trap of thinking about these two modalities as a dichotomy, as some modalities that can either substitute one another or replicate one another, but let's try to see how we can create a new modality out of the opportunities that each of them can provide and create. So blended is not the sum of face-to-face plus online, but it's a new experience that we are creating together. Do you have any question? Do you have any comment regarding this definition and regarding this attempt in defining blended learning? I'm opening the chat as well. Or you can unmute your microphone, of course.
There's a comment in the chat box.
Okay, sorry, but okay. I don't know why I don't see the chat while I am in. Okay,
you need to open. Okay, you can see it now.
Yeah, but I had to
okay.
exit the full presentation. But due to COVID, blended has been correlated with forced online training. Yes, I agree with this comment, Abir, and that is why I was starting the presentation with this also provocative statement about now everything has to go online, because we are accelerating, of course, the conversion. We are seeing that some things are working well, and we see that we can achieve certain outcomes, and therefore we have to go that direction anyhow. Also, the experience is not always positive, because now that we are only doing training in online settings and through digital means, of course, we are all experiencing certain fatigue, certain fatigue of being always online, being always in a webinar, being always in a Zoom meeting on our mobile. Unmute yourself, write in the chat, put your headphones. These are also behaviors that are not natural, so that they can, of course, cater certain needs, but these are not the natural way of behaving and of learning and training. So that is why my conclusion was about finding together a sort of solution in between the two modalities, and therefore finding together a way of creating a new modality that also has an interest for creating quality. Therefore, we don't have to create new challenges. Let me go back to the presentation. Okay, now I see the chat. So it was a mistake I had. So you're totally right. We would like to explore later the challenge when training programs involves practical skills the trainee should acquire, especially for youth. Okay, so let's proceed with the presentation, because I think we have some let's say details and criteria that could help with making a decision. When it comes to practical training sessions. So this slide is exactly on about thinking about how should we proceed. So usually whenever we have to deliver a training curriculum, I guess you are familiar with the slides I am presenting right now. So do you agree that a course is a sequence of learning situations around a professional challenge, around a specific learning needs? Do you agree with this, let's say, visualization, that a course is a sequence of learning situations? Thank you. Thank you for confirming. So I see that at least we are on the right page. And each learning situation, each box in this sequence correspond to a learning activity. So a specific learning activity, a practical learning activity, a theoretical learning activity as well. In particular, you see that learning activities could have different purposes. They could aim at activating prior knowledge, therefore trying to refresh the knowledge of learners, providing them with some concepts, some terms, some experiences that they have in their background. Or the aim could be to introduce a new concept or introduce a new skill, therefore taught something totally new that the learner should acquire for the first time. A third purpose could be applying and practicing. This is what you were, for example, raising in the brainstorming that we had before. The fact that there are certain sessions, there are certain learning situations in the curriculum that you are taking care of, in which learners need to practice, need to apply, need to put in practice the knowledge, need to simulate, need to demonstrate certain behaviors. And finally, another final purpose would be synthesis and integration. Therefore, the possibility to connect the dots, to make sure that everything works in the process, that a procedure is smoothly and qualitatively implemented. So these are different learning activities that could be part of your curriculum, of your course, and different purposes by you. Also, another input that is on this slide in order to make you further structure and further organize your course is that each learning activity, apart from having a specific learning purpose, should be organized into 3 components. So we are even making it more granular. So each activity as an induction, as a, for example, as an opening, as a delivery, and as a closing, okay? So this is a way that, this is a usual procedure, usual process we are undertaking when we have to think about the course that we have to, the training curriculum that we have to deliver. So this is a generic process that we can apply, for example, when we deliver a face-to-face course. Is that correct? So do you agree with this process? Are you familiar with this process? Is this the way you proceed? Maybe we can also hear from some of you if you want to share any experience regarding, is this the way you proceed? Emily, you said yes. Would you like, for example, can you tell me about what is the training you are currently delivering or working on?
Yes, hi. Actually, I do agree with you, but I do also have a comment or a question.
لدي تعليق
Now, to answer your question about what kind of curriculum that we are delivering, we do deliver soft skills training and business development training for vulnerable women or even MSMEs or others. So for adults, actually, not for children and not academic education. It's actually more of business development training. But my question is about, is there a platform? And this is something related to the challenges because I couldn't answer before I was driving. So I'm asking now, is there any kind of a platform that can help us provide the exercise, like a full package of exercise, quiz, and the training session with a kind of separate rooms with interactive activities? Because what we can do on Zoom, we cannot do is not actually covering all the aspects of the training, and what we can do on other platform also is missing other features. So is there any advice from your side of a specific platform that I can have all the activities together in one session?
Thank you. Well, thank you, Emily. I think you have asked the $1 million questions. This is like one of the questions that we usually take every day, because also the training center, we do have a platform for delivering online learning courses. But then, of course, the needs are always evolving, and then there is no such a platform where we can have everything. So thank you also for Rania for suggesting the name of the platform in the chat. So exactly, the platform that we're currently using for delivering online courses is called Moodle, and Moodle is an open source platform, definitely something that it's not a licensed platform, so something that you can think about installing at your training center if there is a possibility to do so. Definitely the added value for doing that is that you can centralize, for example, the access to certain materials and to certain resources. You can create quizzes, assessment, so you do not only provide content, but you can also create learning activities in online settings. And you can eventually integrate also virtual sessions such as this one by integrating also Zoom or other web lectures platforms. So this is a possibility. Also, let me just clarify that Moodle doesn't solve you. Yeah, Manuela says also that you will use Moodle to build your lesson. So I understand that Moodle will be part of this course. This is what you mean? Okay. So we are, let's say, revealing already some details about what's coming next. Okay. So Moodle will be a platform where you can construct, let's say, a curriculum online. At the same time, also let's reflect critically about what are the tools, either inside Moodle or external to Moodle, that could serve specific purposes, so that the platform itself does not solve all your issues. So it's there, and it's great that we can leverage on open source technologies for sure. At the same time, let's say it's worth exploring and experimenting using mixed tool, as for example, I see also in the chat a comment by Rania. Manuela, do you want to add anything?
Yeah, no, just maybe to add something. So in module 2, we will exactly talk about the different opportunities that are given within Moodle. And also, as Alessia said, there are also external tools that are available. And in particularly, you will see a very useful and handy chart, which is called the Moodle Guide, which gives you an idea of the different activities that you would like to convey. And they're associated with different tools and online activities for which you can convey that particular learning moment. So this will be, I think, very useful for you, and you will see it in module 2.
Okay, great. So next module will be digging deeper into the platform, digging deeper into some functionalities provided by the platform, and guiding you on choosing what could be the best tool to support some of the learning situations that we are seeing here in the course sequence. So we have a series of learning situations. I thank you, Emily, for sharing like the type of course she is providing on soft skills, for example. Therefore, there will be an opportunity to eventually select what could be a learning situation in that specific course that could be delivered online, and what are the tools in Moodle, for example, that could help in creating content or creating some assignments, therefore delivering some online training. Let me just go, maybe let's say we can jump, we already did, we already said somehow in a summary what we wanted to, I wanted to summarize, and thank you also for contributing, so that the idea is that either you think of face-to-face, either you think of online. Now we are thinking about blending learning together. So we have always to think that the courses are sequences of professional learning situation. The learning situation should be broken into activities. These activities have different objectives, and we can think about how to sequence these learning situations with the support of technology, and how to mix these online moments with the face-to-face moments, which probably we will have to cater in face-to-face modalities, because there is no other way of carrying out that learning situation. I see someone raise their hand, so please go ahead.
Hello, this is Rana. I just have a question regarding the previous slide and the different types of like different objectives of the course. Would that be like some kind of indicator if the material can be given better be given online? For example, if it's about introducing a new concept or maybe reminding, it can be done like online. However, other objectives are better to be done face-to-face.
Sure, thank you. Thank you, because you have anticipated what comes into the next slide. So let me just go to the next slide, and exactly. So my next slide was actually thinking about out loud. So how should we go about designing a learning situation for digital learning environment? So how can we decide if a learning activity can be delivered virtual? How can we decide if this activity needs to be delivered face-to-face? So these are questions that pop up in our mind all the time. So the thing is that, of course, there will be certain criteria that could help us, for example, make a decision. For example, I have placed in this slide a table which provides you with 4 types of different learning situations. which have different criteria. For example, in the first quadrant, there is an example of a learning situation where presence is prescribed by law. So here, for example, we cannot really probably have a lot of choice to make. So maybe is it face-to-face or virtual? If it is prescribed by law and in our training curriculum, we have certain rules to follow, therefore we will have to comply with law for sure. And therefore this learning situation will have to happen in face-to-face settings. Or what do you think about a learning situation if you go the second row? In this quadrant, it says there is a situation in which there is a high risk to the health and safety of students, family, and the environment due to dangerous processes or activities, such as, for example, use of flammable material, reactive material, toxic material. What do you think? What would be the ideal situation here? Should we decide of carrying out this face-to-face, or there is a possibility, do you think, a scenario, an opportunity to carry out this situation virtually? Okay, someone is saying online, Abir saying online, better virtually, Lina, okay. So virtually for sure. So there are a lot of participants that are deciding for a virtual settings, and then I see Rana and Emily who raised their hand. So maybe Rana, would you like to say something?
Sorry, it was still raised from before. I didn't.
Emily, then would you like to go ahead?
Yes, actually, but there's an example that happens actually with me personally, and this is long time ago when I was applying for the university, and the attendance there, I was obliged to attend like 80% to be allowed to continue my education, and this was one of the reasons that I could not adhere to and commit to. So I quit that major back then, and I continued later. But this is one of the reasons that I wished back then that we have something as e-learning or online studies that would allow me complete my degree. So I totally agree with the virtual learning in this situation.
Okay. And then we also have some comments about the fact that for physical chemistry, better practically, not virtually. Manuela, do you have an idea about a practical example that could go there, but maybe would fit more in face-to-face settings? Or what do you think? What's your opinion there?
Sorry, here I am. No, I couldn't unmute myself. So here we didn't give the answer, but yeah, the goal here is to reflect on activities that then necessarily need to be face-to-face because of some constraints. There is the option then for some activities that can be either face-to-face or non-face-to-face, and so you have rightly answered, some of you. And then there are the activities that can totally also not be brought face-to-face. And I think in the next slide, Alessia will reveal kind of a set of criteria of that, which I can also make available in the platform. There is a comment in Arabic. I don't know if the interpreters can read it for us. I cannot hear the translation.
I just saw it, sorry, because I was looking for the chat box.
No worries.
We in the public sector, we are obliged to adopt the curriculum as decided by the ministry, and that was not amended since many years.
Okay. Yeah.
So how
okay.
can we change this curriculum that hasn't been amended for a while now, and to keep pace with the changes and to present it in a digital manner? So that was it.
Okay. So, and then I see that there are continuous comments in the chat about the possibility also of mixing so that we can have some, so for example, in the case of having a contact with dangerous processes or materials, it could be also a mixed approach where maybe some concepts, some theoretical knowledge about these materials and procedures, they are delivered prior to the learners, prior to a face-to-face, but then since it's also part of a practical and on-the-job learning situation, maybe it will require also some guidance. So maybe better to do this and carry out in face-to-face settings so that we also ensure that the learners are, let's say, safe while learning during this situation. So let me go to the next slide, because this is a slide that Manuela was saying that she will make available on the platform, just because we will not read case by case, but this could be like, this could work as a checklist that it could work as a checklist to, sorry Manu, but my computer was dying.
No worries. If you want, I can go on. So it's basically a checklist. You see 3 columns, and you see different criteria which guide you on what should go necessarily face-to-face, what could be mixed, and what could go totally online. So this is once again a way of rethinking your module, your curriculum into a new modality where we don't necessarily have this duality online face-to-face, but we create really a new mode, and we rethink about our learning moments. Alessia, I see you're back.
Thank you. Sorry for that. Yeah, exactly. So we would like you to maybe take download this checklist while you go back to the course materials and think about the learning situations, the courses sequence that you have in mind. And prior to deciding which tool or which platform, since we were already jumping into the discussion of Moodle, for example, a couple of minutes ago, maybe try to see if this checklist can also help us decide if there are certain situations that are more, let's say, suitable for online or face-to-face settings, or sometimes they are in the middle, they fit into the middle, so they could be either face-to-face or virtually. So there are some also gray zone depending on the criteria. And then to respond I think there was the question that was asked before, it was by Emily, if I'm not mistaken, if I remember well. The question was more about how can we link the pedagogical purpose with specific digital tools. This slide also is perceived to provide you with, let's say, a series of choices that you can make. And you have on the left, let's say, the purposes that we have listed before. So each learning situation can be aiming at activating prior learning. It can be aimed at providing new concepts or skills. It can be about applying and practicing, or it can be about synthesis and integration, we said before. On the right, we are giving you some examples about what can happen online. How can we make it happen in an online settings? For example, some examples on the first row, activating prior knowledge. Is it about, for example, using a forum discussion? Can we use a forum discussion to start inquiring the participants, the learners, about what they have, what is their experience, what is their prior experience, or if they have questions regarding a specific topic that they would like to ask? Or digital storytelling, written memories, online questionnaires, or reflection on a video. We can, for example, provide an interview or a video and then ask the learners to start sharing, start reflecting. Same goes with the new concept and skills. Some of the methods and tools that we suggest as most suited in online settings could be lectures, videos, demonstrations. These were also things that you picked up in your brainstorming at the beginning in Padlet. Most of you, when we were thinking about the online learning columns, you were mentioning video tutorials, you were mentioning interactive presentations, you were mentioning video-based training. So this is a lecture on Zoom. Yes, could serve this purpose. Maybe it will not be the best suited for activating prior knowledge, but it can go in this purpose of delivering new concepts and skills. So it's really a matter of identifying with the first slide, with the previous slide, in which situation are we right now? So if can we stay necessarily face-to-face, or can we jump online? Is there any criteria, or is there any macro context element that will lead us to decide in which situation are we? And then once we have decided and defined what is, let's say, the modality, then we can dig deeper and identify what are the best instruments that will serve a specific learning purpose for that specific learning situation. So again, here we are providing you with a series of tools. These tools are very generic. And when Manuela says that in Module 2, you will go, for example, in playing a little bit further with the technology in the platform, you will see that most of the technologies and tools that we are listing here are provided in Moodle, for example. So Moodle will be a platform where you can create a forum discussion, where you can deliver an online questionnaire, where you can deliver an online lecture, where you can share a video presentation. So the platform provides you with a series of technologies. The idea will be that you define which is the pedagogical purpose, and you organize the learning experience according to that pedagogical purpose. Therefore, you use the tool for the right objective. Emily, does this answer your prior question?
Yes, actually, it does somehow. I have to practice it first to know that I don't need anything else within the platform. But definitely, because I'll be leading focus groups, and I would need the answers for my questions to be in one file. So yes, I would definitely give it a try and use it. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. So remember that this is an opening webinar. No? Today we are still part, as I understand, is part of week 1 of your course. So of course we are not really going into the concrete example, but we're still like brainstorming. And the idea of today was trying to guide you on the process, right? So there is no right or wrong modality that you should use. We are not here to convince you that now you will have to forget about the face-to-face practical session, and we are not here to force you into digital learning. Today was more about an introduction about what is possible and how you can blend the two together, thinking about the course as a sequence of learning situation. Therefore, we are giving you some ingredients on some checklists that you can tap into while working from next week on a more practical case. The idea also was to somehow debunk the myth of e-learning equal technology. I'm a bit against this technocentric approach where if we have to deliver online, we think and jump immediately of a tool, of a platform, of an application. Let us reflect why we need that tool, what is the learning purpose, and what is the learning objective that we need to serve. And then I see in the chat there was a comment, that is why I was pausing and I was reflecting. Okay, so how to manage the workshop and curriculum development, they were supposed to facilitate and run very soon. So I guess that this is also a question that we will have to dig deeper, step by step. So now we have a checklist. Now we are provided with some options. Next week you will analyze a little bit in depth how this curriculum could be resequenced or debunked, and what are the part of this curriculum that could go online and what should stay face-to-face because of many reasons. It could be by law, it could be because there are certain conditions. Also, one thing that we didn't mention before is that there could be also a learning situation in which the learner need to, for example, I'm talking about the use of high-cost tool, machinery and supplies without the possibility of adaptation or replacement. So there could be some occupations that you are training which the learners will not have access to specific equipment or materials. So therefore here we can adapt a little bit with the virtual. We can provide some supporting materials, but then the practical session needs to be carried out in a laboratory or in a workshop space where there are the conditions to carry out that specific activity and to learn about it. I think this was like the introduction I wanted to give you, and I appreciated the exchange. I don't know if there is any other questions that you may want to ask with regard to these few slides that we went through together.
I would like to thank Alessia for her presentation. Just before, I mean, we are reaching the end of the webinar soon. So yeah, if you have any question, I think this is very relevant for the participants of our course because they're really involved in the design of training activities. So I guess this resonates a lot for you. Yeah, as Alessia said, we also try to give you some practical tips that are there for your use, but of course, they're not rules. You can just leverage from them and take the opportunity to rethink on your learning modalities. And yeah, what I like about the presentation is that we don't just give the slogan of the future is blended, but we go a bit more into details on what does it mean from a curriculum perspective and the actual creation of a learning moment. So I hope this was useful for all of you. If there is questions, we can take 1 or 2 maximum, and then we will need to also close the webinar.
Sure.
Okay, I think, I mean, we had a lot of interaction in between, which was very interesting. So also thanks to all of you who have made this webinar also more enriching with also your personal experience and your thoughts. So I think this is it. Thanks a lot, Alessia. And I would like to thank also our interpreters of the webinar, as always. You're receiving many thank yous. I guess it was very appreciated. Lina, just you have your hand raised. Maybe the last intervention before we close.
Did I have my hand raised?
Yes.
I don't think so,
Okay.
but it's a good opportunity to say, yes, it was beneficial a workshop, and thank you a lot.
Okay.
Okay. Maybe
Thank
this
you so
happened
much.
by accident. Thank you.
Okay, no worries.
What happens in online settings? Someone raised the hands without a purpose.
Exactly.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you all, and good luck for the rest of the activities. Please hand in your module assignment by the end of the week so that you don't get too delayed. And then we meet again next week live for next webinars. Thank you. Bye-bye. Have a nice day.
Bye-bye. Ciao.